repeated Bazarov severely and distinctly. "Have you forgotten your textbooks?" "Well, yes, yes, as you like. All the same, we shall cure you." "Oh, that's rubbish. And it's not the point. I never expected to die so soon. It's a chance, a very unpleasant one, to tell the truth. You and mother must now take advantage of your strong religious faith. Here's an opportunity of putting it to the test." He drank a little more water. "But I want to ask you one thing, while my brain is still under control. Tomorrow, or the day after, you know, my brain will cease to function. I'm not quite certain even now, if I'm expressing myself clearly. While I was lying here, I kept on imagining that red dogs were running round me, and you made them point at me, as if I were a blackcock. I thought I was drunk. Do you understand me all right?" "Of course, Evgeny, you talk perfectly clearly." "So much the better. You told me you'd sent for the doctor. You did that to console yourself. Now console me too. Send a messenger." "To Arkady Nikolaich?" interposed the old man. "Who's Arkady Nikolaich?" said Bazarov with some hesitation. "Oh, yes, that little fledgling. No, leave him alone, he's turned into a jackdaw now. Don't look surprised, I'm not raving yet. But you send a messenger to Madame Odintsov, Anna Sergeyevna. She's a landowner near by. Do you know?" Vassily Ivanovich nodded his head. "Say, Evgeny Bazarov sends his greetings, and sent to say he is dying. Will you do that?" "I will. But is it a possible thing that you should die, you, Evgeny? Judge for yourself. Where would divine justice be after that?" "I don't know. Only you send the messenger." "I'll send him this minute, and I'll write a letter myself." "No, why? Say I send my greetings, and nothing more is necessary. And now I'll go back to my dogs. How strange. I want to fix my thoughts on death, and nothing comes of it. I see a kind of patch, and nothing more." He turned over heavily towards the wall, and Vassily Ivanovich went out of the study, and struggling as far as his wife's bedroom, collapsed on his knees in front of the sacred images. "Pray, Arina, pray to God," he groaned. "Our son is dying." The doctor, that same district doctor who had been without any caustic, arrived, and after examining the patient, advised them to persevere with a cooling treatment, and threw in a few words about the possibility of recovery. "Have you ever seen people in my state not setting off for the Elysian fields?" asked Bazarov, and suddenly snatching the leg of a heavy table standing near his sofa, he swung it round and pushed it away. "There's strength enough," he murmured. "It's all there still, and I must die. An old man has time at least to outgrow the habit of living, but well, let me try to deny death. It will deny me, and that's the end of it. Who's crying there?" he added after a pause. "Mother? Poor mother! Whom will she feed now with her wonderful cabbage soup? And I believe you're whimpering too, Vassily Ivanovich. Why, if Christianity doesn't help you, be a philosopher, a stoic, and that sort of thing. Surely you prided yourself on being a philosopher?" "What kind of philosopher am I?" sobbed Vassily Ivanovich, and the tears streamed down his cheeks. Bazarov got worse with every hour. The disease progressed rapidly, as usually happens in cases of surgical poisoning. He had not yet lost consciousness and understood what was said to him. He still struggled. "I don't want to start raving," he muttered, clenching his fists. "What rubbish it all is!" and then he said abruptly, "Come, take 10 from 8. What remains?" Vassily Ivanovich wandered about like one possessed, proposing first one remedy, then another, and ended by doing nothing except cover up his son's feet. "Try wrapping up in cold sheets, emetic, mustard plasters on the stomach, bleeding," he said with an effort. The doctor, whom he had begged to stay, agreed with everything he said, gave the patient lemonade to drink, and for himself asked for a pipe and for something "warming and strengthening," meaning vodka. Arina Vlasyevna sat on a low stool near the door and only went out from time to pray. A few days previously a little mirror had slipped out of her hands and broken, and she had always considered this as a bad omen. Even Anfisushka was unable to say anything to her. Timofeich had gone off to Madame Odintsov's place. The night passed badly for Bazarov. High fever tortured him. Towards the morning he felt a little easier. He asked Arina Vlasyevna to comb his hair, kissed her hand and swallowed a few sips of tea. Vassily Ivanovich revived a little. "Thank God," he repeated. "The crisis is near, the crisis is coming." "There, think of that," muttered Bazarov. "What a lot a word can do. He's found one, he said 'crisis' and is comforted. It's an astounding thing how human beings have faith in words. You tell a man, for instance, that he's a fool, and even if you don't thrash him he'll be miserable. Call him a clever fellow, and he'll be delighted even if you go off without paying him." This little speech of Bazarov's, recalling his old sallies, greatly moved Vassily Ivanovich. "Bravo! Splendidly said, splendid!" he exclaimed, making as though to clap his hands. Bazarov smiled ruefully. "Well, so do you think the crisis is over or approaching?" "You're better, that's what I see. That's what rejoices me." "Very well, there's never any harm in rejoicing. And do you remember, did you send the message to her?" "Of course I did." The change for the better did not last long. The disease resumed its onslaughts. Vassily Ivanovich was sitting close to Bazarov. The old man seemed to be tormented by some particular anguish. He tried several times to speak, but could not. "Evgeny," he ejaculated at last. "My son, my dear beloved son." This unexpected outburst produced an effect on Bazarov. He turned his head a little, evidently trying to fight against the load of oblivion weighing down on him, and said, "What is it, father?" "Evgeny," went on Vassily Ivanovich, and fell on his knees in front of his son, who had not opened his eyes and could not see him. "You're better now. Please God, you will recover. But make good use of this interval, comfort your mother and me, fulfill your duty as a Christian. How hard it is for me to say this to you, how terrible! But still more terrible would be forever and ever, Evgeny. Just think what." The old man's voice broke and a strange look passed over his son's face, though he still lay with his eyes closed. "I won't refuse, if it's going to bring any comfort to you," he muttered at last. "But it seems to me there's no need to hurry about it. You say yourself, I'm better." "Yes, Evgeny, you're better, certainly. But who knows, all that is in God's hands, and in fulfilling your duty." "No, I'll wait a bit," interrupted Bazarov. "I agree with you that the crisis has come. But if we're mistaken, what then? Surely they give the sacrament to people who are already unconscious." For heaven's sake, Evgeny